Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. In these last several days there's been a lot of discussion from the pro players regarding what they would like to see in the next Call of Duty title. Jetpacks have certainly been on the agenda we're going to dive into today, but also World War II Vanguard is supposedly going to be the next Call of Duty coming out later this year, developed by Sledgehammer Games. You would imagine a pretty direct sequel to World War II that came out I believe way back now in 2017. So you could think, okay, traditional boots on the ground type stuff. However, there's been a lot of questions really about this game. Maybe it's not in the best state exactly by, well, some of the leakers that are coming out behind the scenes, but also questions about whether Jetpacks could actually return in Call of Duty history going forwards. Intrigued to hear your thoughts on this stuff in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Wanted to mention this first of all, College COD, I believe the finals finished up last night, had some, well, great matches right here. CCL 2021 champions being Ottawa, Gold, Esports Division, all that type of good stuff. So congratulations to these guys. And well, let's talk about actually this first of all. The other side of things, that being Standoff potentially coming into the game. There was a leak that came out a couple of days ago suggesting that Standoff is going to be coming back for Season 3 of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. And as well, Round 11 says not too long ago now, like there's got to be a better Search and Destroy map than Checkmate for Stage 3. And honestly, in a lot of game modes, you're probably looking at, well, some of the hard points are thinking, okay, how many are these great to watch? You know, something like Apocalypse, for example, has had a lot of, well, discussion lately. The fact that, okay, you know, where is other maps coming into the map pool? For example, Apocalypse actually, despite we got rid of Crossroads, of course, Apocalypse comes in, isn't actually that good. Pros don't really seem to like to play it too much. As I said, there's only like 7 maps of it played throughout the entirety of Stage 2, compared to I'm pretty much sure Crossroads was played something like 15 times. So clearly, they don't really seem to like Apocalypse hardpoint. Checkmate Search and Destroy is pretty tragic as well in terms of, well, how this map is balanced compared to the other ones in the map pool. And then Control might not also be in the best spot with Garrison and Checkmate also a little bit dodgy we have seen so far this season. So, in an ideal world, we get a different map coming into play. Of course, the one that I've always talked about is Standoff. So seeing this, and of course, like as it says, the leak is coming from the Ghost of Modern Warfare. He says it's not from his usual source, so take it with a grain of salt. So it may not be the case, but we would imagine that if there was anything that's pretty likely to be the case, it would be this, right? Because they've brought back a couple of maps so far from Black Ops 2. The first one, of course, being Raid. That is in our rotation now. Absolutely fantastic stuff. The second one being Express. That came in for Search and Destroy. And now we've got Standoff as well on the cards. This is my favorite map in Black Ops 2. Probably my favorite map in Call of Duty history, to be honest. It's certainly right up there. I think, honestly, it's just phenomenal for all the gamers that were played back in the day. Search and Destroy hardpoints and capture the flag as it was at the time. Whether this would work for Control, that is another question. Does it need to work for Control? Is the maps that we have right now okay? It probably is just about okay. But I would love to see it come in for hardpoint. I would love to come in for Search and Destroy, especially. I think Checkmate Search and Destroy, even though the pros do play it a lot, you do have to wonder, right, given that the pros vote on stuff like this, do they actually decide, okay, hang on a second, we actually play Checkmate Search and Destroy quite a lot, we kind of like it, do we actually want to change it in the map pool? I mean, you would imagine you would have to have a majority from the teams. But yeah, phenomenal map. And well, if it is coming back, then of course it's going to be great news for us, I believe. I imagine if it does come back, it would be in for Stage 4 of the CDL, which should give enough time for Stage 4, Stage 5, and then the World Championships to have it, well, integrated nicely into the map pool, and that the pros would be pretty happy to go down that route. So hopefully it does indeed happen. It's, well, of course, still a rumor at the present time, but, you know, with any luck, Standoff will come in over the coming, well, it will be announced over the coming weeks, I suppose, and then we can think about whether it gets integrated into the season going forwards. And, well, as Round 11 stats says also, Standoff coming in for Checkmate would be the biggest glow I've ever seen in competitive Call of Duty history. This is what Octane has to say a few days ago. There's video game opinions that get you into this situation. Jetpacks were the best thing for COD viewership we have ever had. Now, this is actually a pretty interesting take. Got like 9,000 likes, so a lot of traction on this one. And, well, I think a lot of the competitive Call of Duty in general tend to like Jetpack Call of Duty games because they're probably players that take the game a little bit more seriously, and therefore players who, well, when you're playing them, you tend to have more of an advantage if you know the movement and can kind of, well, turn on people and stuff using the advanced movement. Honestly, I did really enjoy those games. In Black Ops 3 especially was, I'm pretty sure, the most fun I've ever had playing a Call of Duty game. Now, whether that was the sole reason for the viewership being great during those seasons, that is an interesting question. I don't necessarily think that's fully the case. I think that you could argue that the fact that the OpTic dynasty were, well, the most dominant team in that era, certainly, and also they were the team that, well, had the biggest fan base. That was probably what brought in a lot of the viewership, right? The fact that, okay, they were not only the biggest team with the biggest names, but also dominating all of the tournaments the majority of the time. That, of course, helped, well, advance their brand even further as well. So maybe that's part of the reason why the viewership on those games did particularly fairly well. And I think the viewership has been on a pretty decent trajectory as well these last couple of years also. But certainly, I think a lot of pros would like to see Jetpacks come back in Call of Duty going forwards. And as well, Simp says as well, Jetpack CODs were absolutely godlike. Advanced Warfare was a top tier COD in my opinion, says Bance. So a lot of people are, well, going down this route. I think a lot of pros would like to see a return to Jetpacks in the near future. Now, whether it will happen, that is another question entirely, because I think a lot of, well, more casual players, especially, you've got to think about, well, making a game that integrates with Warzone right now, and that, of course, is going to be a boots on the ground type stuff built on Modern Warfare's engine is Warzone. So you would imagine for at least the next couple of years, we're probably going to stay on boots on the ground. And I do understand that if you're like a more casual player who just, comes home from work, hops on for an hour or two to play in the evenings, you're probably going to be more in tune with like a relatively simple, just boots on the ground, run around type situation than, okay, flying around the map like it was in the Jetpack titles. And of course, the Jetpack titles kind of followed the trends that were happening at the time, right? We had Titanfall come out, and therefore Call of Duty went down that route. And you could say they went down that route for 1 year too long. The reception that Infinite Warfare got when that was officially announced and that had jetpacks was, well, not particularly good at all. I think that might still be the most disliked gaming video on YouTube, the trailer for Infinite Warfare, if you guys remember that. As Panda says as well, comeback uplink, what a map that was, way back in Advanced Warfare as well. And as Charlie Intel said at the time, which jetpack COD was your favourite? JCap says Black Ops 3 by a mile. Of course, he did win the World Championship on that game, so understandably so. Not even close, actually, says Octane. So a lot of discussion right here. Because, okay, Black Ops 3 better than Infinite Warfare, better than Advanced Warfare. I actually do agree with Octane's opinion on this. It's a pretty hot take, but I actually think that Infinite Warfare towards the end was, I personally enjoyed it a lot. I think it was actually a great COD, apart from Search and Destroy. But Retaliation, Hardpoint, I could play that all day. But that's certainly a pretty hot take, and as Ake says, Infinite Warfare was by far the worst of those three. But a lot of discussion around, okay, could we go back to jetpacks in the future? Is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Do we necessarily want it to happen? Is it a great thing for COD? And we've also seen, well, Ake talk about not too long ago, the fact that, alright, if Simp and aBeZy, well, if, let's say from Atlanta FaZe's perspective, if we still have games in the future where we've got boots on the ground, but it is, well, the sliding mechanic that we have right now, a lot of players like Ake have talked about the fact that the sliding mechanic makes a massive difference. It in effect gives some sort of advanced movement, despite the game not being a jetpack game. Therefore, that gives these guys with crazy movement the ability to actually, well, abuse those mechanics, you could argue. And then, well, Ake is probably looking at World War II, that it was a couple of years ago with no slide. It had like the dolphin dive right in the initial World War II game that came out. And, well, that meant Ake won the World Championship on that game on Evil Geniuses back in 2018. And maybe that was part of the reason. So we can see that, okay, some games have, well, Black Ops 4, for example, that wasn't a jetpack game, but that was an incredibly quick game. Like, you could slide incredibly quick. The stim shot certainly didn't help with it. You had the grapple as well that you could use to get around the map with Ruin incredibly fast as well. So there's some games that maybe not jetpack games, but still had very quick movement. I think we've really seen that these last couple of years. Now, World War II Vanguard may actually be something very different indeed. Because if it's anything like the original World War II, then we're probably expecting a very much a slower paced shooter. A game where you're going to be moving around the map much slower than you are right now. You're going to have to be much more strategical and methodical with your play. And well, some teams benefited from that certainly back in World War II, and some of the teams that maybe just threw themselves headstrong into the hard points, like you used to be able to get away with back in Infinite Warfare the year before World War II, then well, didn't exactly benefit from that situation. Now, as Tom Henderson says, he's been a pretty big leaker regarding Vanguard though. This is well, when the questions start to be arised around this title, it's apparently an absolute disaster. Now, this has been coming out for a couple of weeks now. There's been some similar things going on these lines, and well, as he says right here, but it will take time to get the whole answers on the situation. But in my opinion, as Tom says, if Activision was ever not going to release a yearly Call of Duty, this should be the year. Focusing on Warzone, Modern Warfare, and Black Ops COD War content, saying pretty much this game, once again, Sledgehammer's managed to mess it up, right? Because we saw coming into, well, it was meant to be last year, I'm pretty sure, with Black Ops COD War. I think that was meant to be a Sledgehammer game, but Activision, well, like, okay, Sledgehammer's messing it up, try to come in and fix this mess, and okay, Sledgehammer, you get to do the next title now, make sure you don't mess it up this time. But apparently, that is what's happening again. Supposedly, we don't really know, but if Tom Henderson's saying, I mean, this is kind of entertaining as well, I'll do a drawing of Vanguard, this is the drawing that he comes up with. So supposedly Vanguard not in the best state right now, and there's also the discussion about, okay, the next generation consoles, the fact that, okay, it might get held back badly by previous gen consoles, but to be honest, no one can even get their hands, it seems, on a PS5 or whatever the new Xbox is called, so it doesn't really seem like there's really too many other options right now. So plenty of discussion about this, and I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts down below, because, okay, if Vanguard is, like, not coming out this year, or something goes wrong, or I don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, but working in this kind of work from home environment probably does make things a lot more difficult for some of these developers, and maybe Vanguard is, well, having some issues as a result of that. But, well, yeah, if it doesn't come out, what does this mean, right? Of course, we're still expecting some Call of Duty to come out. Activision would, I'm sure they make a lot of money from these game sales. You're expecting them to find a way to get this game to come out. But we imagine it's going to be a boots on the ground title. A lot of the pros are thinking, okay, we want jetpacks back, and then Vanguard might not actually be so good, what does that necessarily mean for the state of the CDL next season? Maybe not the most ideal spot. And this is kind of why people have been saying for a number of years, whether it's a good idea or not, the idea that, okay, maybe we just have like a set competitive title for every year going forwards, and maybe standoffs in the game every single year and raids in the game every single year or something like that. I don't think that would actually be the best in the long term, because I think there's the fact that we have a new game every single year keeps things fresh. It makes sure that our player base is up to date with the people who are actually watching the scene as well. So okay, if you're playing the same game as the pros are playing that, it certainly gets rid of some of the barriers to entry to actually watching what could be a very niche scene indeed if it's played on a game that's entirely separate from what the majority of the casual players are playing. And that's of course reduces the availability to actually get some of those individuals interested in the CDL. So I don't necessarily think that having like one Call of Duty game to be the competitive title going forwards is going to be a viable option in the very near future, but maybe in a few years time it actually does work. But certainly some questions regarding the state of Vanguard right now. A couple of things just to finish off the video. This from Lionman, stage 2 cards from Los Angeles. Thieves thought this is pretty cool. I mean, we can see Venom right here not having the greatest stats in theory, but actually then when he goes to the major, he actually had a great run at the major. So early on I think he had like one of the worst KDs in the league after he initially joined this team with Slasher, but then I'm pretty sure like towards the end of the season actually when they made this change and Drazah came in for the major, then Venom actually had a much better time I think. So that group is just so incredibly scary. If you guys need reminding of it, OpTic, FaZe, New York Subliners, we looked at them earlier today, the fact that they might very well be improving. Los Angeles Thieves, Seattle Surge, they're on the up as well, and then the Royal Ravens kind of thrown in there into an absolute gauntlet that is Group B, and Group A is no slouch either. But intrigued to take your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Speaking of Group A, actually Standy with this very nice clip in League Play as well. He's been looking so damn good so far this season since he has joined the Minnesota Rokkr, and some absolute banger matches I'm sure coming up in this stage. Will we see Standoff in the next stage? That is something that I am certainly hoping for. Intrigued to take your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.
Top L, flanking. Oh my god, dude, we're shacking Kobe right now.
I'm running worlds.
Ah! Oh, we're spawning them laundry, bro. Spawn behind you. They're not spawning behind you. What?
Oh my gosh, stream.
You're so far pushed out. How close do they know? Oh, there he is.